2 weeks away from WrestleMania. You wouldn't have thought so. Well, let's review Raw. Kicked off the show with Mick Foley coming down to the ring and reading off index cards prepared by Triple H. And now we left last week, obviously, with Mick Foley applying the mandible claw to Triple H before being low blow by Steph. Didn't get any development there last week as Seth Rollins interrupted. However, started off this week with that. He would have the index cards before ripping them up, saying, "I'm Mick Foley, I'll say whatever I want," before being interrupted by Steph, who then inevitably fired Mick Foley. We were waiting for that for a long time. It finally happened last night. That was interrupted by Sami Zayn. Didn't make any sense. Sami Zayn interrupting it. I guess that's his character. He's the kind of underdog that goes against the authorities, like the Daniel Bryan, I guess. But it didn't make any sense for him to be there. He wasn't in a role. His character wasn't in a role where he was against the authority in much of a way. So he felt kind of odd. He felt kind of out of place. Then it's by Samoa Joe, put into a match. Obviously, we've had that match on Raw before. They didn't get enough time then. They didn't get enough time now. The match felt a little bit better than last time, but it still didn't amount to much. This whole segment for me, didn't like it. Main reason, we're 2 weeks from WrestleMania, and this did absolutely nothing to set up Mania. Absolutely nothing. Sami Zayn still not in a match. Samoa Joe still not in a match. Neither Mick Foley or Steph or anything going on at WrestleMania. 2 weeks from the grandest days of them all, you'd expect the opening segment of Raw to build Mania, to set up Mania, to develop Mania, to do something to get us excited for this pay-per-view, and he did absolutely nothing in that way. So for me, the opening segment of Raw this week gets down. We then got the Foley farewell in the back as he walks through the arena saying bye to everyone, giving hugs and stuff. Bumps into Triple H, fantastic from Triple H, just stares him down and says, "Have a nice day." Fantastic humour from from Triple H as always. And yeah, Foley walks out the exit door. Charlotte versus Dana next in a match that I have. I've put a term to this type of match, and I'm going to call this a road match. We had two this week on Raw. We'll get to the other one later. This is a road match. And what I mean by that is it's a match that's on the road to WrestleMania that doesn't mean anything, but it feels like it does. So we had the rivalry from Dana and kind of Dana and Charlotte building up. It felt like it should have been a match, but it wasn't really a match. It was just a match that's a filler. They kind of take a road match when you take an old rivalry, kind of chuck it into the road to WrestleMania for no reason, even though it doesn't affect anything on the road to WrestleMania, but it feels like it does. The match itself was dumb. It was dumb. Dana got beat within minutes by Sasha Banks last week, and now we're supposed to believe that she's a contender to Charlotte. They tried to build it on Twitter all week. Don't know why. Thought that was pointless. Charlotte got the win, obviously. Dana was straight out of the ring. There was no build after, because they never intended to build this rivalry. Like I said, it's a road match. And yeah, that was it. Charlotte got the win. Moving on. Got a backstage segment from Steph and Bayley. The theme here was Steph was picking on everyone that supported Mick Foley, Bayley being one of them. One thing I did notice, not going to dwell on it too much, but Bayley wasn't holding the title in any of her backstage segments. Not sure why, but most superstars who have a title hold them at all points. It's on the camera. Their title's a vocal point. It wasn't with Bayley. She was backstage twice, one with Foley, one with Steph, and didn't have the title on either of them. Don't know if it's foreshadowing that she'll lose the title at Mania, but we'll have to wait and see. This segment then led on to a match, Nia Jax versus Bayley, with the winner going on. If Nia Jax wins, she gets put into the match at WrestleMania, making it fatal 4-way. This was a bit, not frustrating, but lackluster, because this was rumoured for a long time, and we're pretty clear, I'm not sure how, but pretty obvious that Nia Jax was going to get the win somehow. Steph McMahon making it a no disqualification match. I'll talk about that match really quick. It was later on, but I'll talk about it really quickly. Now, the match was pretty poor, if I'm being honest. Didn't feel like the no DQ was warranted. There wasn't much in the way of no disqualifications. And Nia Jax picked up the win with Samoan drop, defeating Bayley with what looked like ease, which, again, didn't make much sense. Raw's not making much sense to me right now. Don't know who's... it's frustrating me. It's really frustrating me. But yeah, Nia Jax is now in the women's match at WrestleMania. It's now a fatal 4-way match. Nia Jax versus Bayley versus Sasha Banks versus Charlotte for the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania. Can't wait, I guess. Yeah. Highlight reel next is advertised last week. Chris Jericho saying he's going to show us the real Kevin Owens. Now, I thought this was going to be a bit of a gimmick, a bit of a joke. He was going to bring out some kind of fake Kevin Owens who was really weak and beat him down or something like that. But it didn't. It showed us pictures of Kevin Owens as a 16-year-old wearing a Y2J shirt with a Y2J poster in the back. I thought that was fantastic. I thought that was a really personal touch to add to this rivalry, and it made it that much better. Showed us a text conversation between him and Kevin Owens when Kevin Owens first came to NXT. Owens asking for advice. I thought that was a perfect touch. I really liked this segment as a whole. Chris Jericho then went on to cut a great promo on Kevin Owens. It was pretty fantastic. I really liked this from Jericho. Once again, showing us that he is firmly. I'd say at his best, but he was great back then. Chris Jericho is 100% one of the best wrestlers to ever wrestle in WWE, hands down. He's definitely a future Hall of Famer, and the fact that he's gone this long and he's still producing content like this, hats off to him, honestly. He was then interrupted by Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe was coming out of the ring. It was just a distraction for Kevin Owens to come in from behind and attack him, and then rip up the list of Jericho. To note that just Chris Jericho was about to put Kevin Owens' name on the list before Samoa Joe's music hit. So Kevin Owens not on the list just yet. Maybe that'll happen next week. Maybe that'll happen at Mania. But yeah, it built the match nicely, added a personal touch, developed it slightly, which is what we need. And yeah, I enjoyed that. I did actually enjoy this segment. I'm looking forward to this match at Mania. Pointless cruiserweight match as always. Next, TJ Perkins versus Brian Kendrick. Again, the theme of Raw didn't make any sense. We had this match at the Clash of Champions last year, and TJ Perkins won in a 10-minute match. We get it on Raw about 6 months later, and Brian Kendrick wins in 2 minutes. Easily. With no competition. It was a stupid match. After the match, Brian Kendrick does a little thing with the Akira Tozawa's passport. That was dumb. I didn't. Doesn't make me want to watch 205 Live still. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. Supposed handicap match next, Sheamus and Cesaro taking on all of the club and Enzo and Cass. If Sheamus and Cesaro lose, they're no longer in the match at WrestleMania. This is again supposed punishment for supporting Mick Foley from Stephanie McMahon. Match itself never really got underway. The club not willing to partner with Enzo and Cass, attacking them beforehand, saying they can do it on their own. They couldn't. Enzo and Cass got involved again. Sheamus got the bro kick, 1, 2, 3. They're still in the match. Didn't really do anything. Carried on the narrative, I suppose, but nothing really changed. No kind of team really has the upper hand. It feels it's just floating along. Doesn't feel intense. Doesn't feel personal. Doesn't feel anything. It just is what it is. So we'll see if they can develop that anymore next week. I hope they can. I hope they can do something with these teams because they're all three great teams. They're fantastic teams, and they should be able to put on a show at WrestleMania. But unless they've got something to get the teeth into story-wise, I don't see it being a great match. The moment Twitter had waited for on Raw, the New Day segment. Everyone was expecting chants. I'm glad. I liked the way they did it. They had a sort of reference at the start with Biggie saying, "Xavier, there's something you want to tell us about." Before Xavier paused and was like, "Yeah, WrestleMania." And then went on to do a little segment, which what I liked about it was they never gave the crowd chance to chant anything. They never paused. There wasn't a pause for a chant at all. Biggie talked, then Xavier immediately cut him off, then Kobe immediately cut him off, then Biggie immediately cut him off. It was complete. There was no spaces. It was complete, always talking, which is obviously what they intended to do. I'm glad they didn't take Xavier off Raw for this week. I thought they might have done. I heard they were going to do that, which would have been a bad idea. People kind of need to get this out of the system as best they can before Mania, so it doesn't ruin Mania anyway. Yeah, I'm glad this segment happened, and it was just them talking about WrestleMania, and that was it. An interview next between Michael Cole and Triple H, leading on from last week's final segment where Seth Rollins came down, had a scuffle with Triple H. Triple H barring the hell out of Seth Rollins' knee with the crutch. It was a great segment to see. It was fantastic to watch. And it was going to be great to see how they develop this. They showed us a bit of a clip of Seth Rollins and the medical team, them saying there's no way, no doctor in America will ever clear Seth Rollins for WrestleMania. That made every heart in the arena and at home just sink a little bit. What I started thinking was, how frustrating would it be if they risked that segment last week and actually re-injured Seth Rollins during that segment. That would have been annoying, but they didn't. Thankfully, Seth Rollins is clear to compete. Triple H went on to cut a classic Triple H promo. I didn't think it was as strong as his other ones. I felt like him as a character was fantastic as always. Him how he portrays himself was fantastic as always. The content of the promo was quite cliche and quite basic, but it worked for what it wanted to work as. And he then went on to say that he was offering Seth Rollins a match at WrestleMania, an unsanctioned match, so that Seth Rollins doesn't actually have to be cleared. He just has to turn up and be willing to fight, which I think is a great angle to put on the match, a great spin for the rivalry, and something that'll make WrestleMania that much interesting. Have that little bit of a difference to the match, rather than just be a singles match, just a basic, even though it probably might be just over just basic singles match. It's now an unsanctioned match, so there are. Does it mean there's no rules? Does it mean there's no rules? Triple H said that Seth Rollins needs to come out next week and sign to say that he's not going to sue anyone if he gets injured in this match, because WWE themselves haven't cleared him. But he still wants to fight. Triple H still wants to fight, so they're going to fight. Like I said, I don't know whether it means it's no DQ. I don't know whether it means no holds barred, falls count anywhere. I'm not quite sure what the exact stipulation entails, but I'm looking forward to finding out. So I'm looking forward to next week and seeing how Seth Rollins responds, whether they add an extra stipulation on there, whether it is just a basic singles match, but Rollins can't sue anyone if he gets injured. It's definitely an interesting spin, and it's definitely something that adds an intrigue to the whole rivalry. And again, I've said this before, this is the match that I'm probably looking forward to one of the most at WrestleMania between Seth Rollins and Triple H. Absolutely adore Seth Rollins, one of my favourites at the moment. I was devastated when I thought he was going to be at WrestleMania again. Thrilled that he's back, thrilled that he's going to be at Mania, and I'm thrilled that he's facing Triple H, and this should be a fantastic match. I'm looking forward to next week to see how they keep pushing this forward onto WrestleMania. More cruiserweights now, building towards the Austin Aries versus Neville match at WrestleMania. Obviously, Neville winning the fatal five-way match, elimination match at 205 Live last week. This match was Aries versus Nice. It was a good match. As far as cruiserweight action goes on Raw, I rather enjoyed it. I love Nice, I love Aries. It was a good match. Aries obviously picking up the win. Before Neville came onto the ramp, Aries cutting him off. Usually it's Neville cutting the big promo, Aries cutting him off, shutting him down, doing a subpar. I think, you know what, it was all right. An okay Geordie accent to make fun of Neville, which I enjoyed from Austin Aries. He definitely brings something new to the cruiserweight division. And again, you know what? They need to build this match more, but they don't need to build this match more, because I'd rather them focus on the other matches from Raw. I'd rather them focus on the build to the other matches. I'm satisfied with how this match is built, and I'm satisfied with what they're doing with this match going to WrestleMania. So they don't need to do much with it. If they're going to put a focus anywhere, I'd rather focus on building the other matches. So I'm happy with what happened. I'm happy with where it's going, and I'm looking forward to the match at Mania between these two guys. Main event time now in a match that pissed me off. Who's writing the story, and why are they so bad at writing stories? We got a clean we didn't want a clean finish at Fastlane, but we got a clean finish at Fastlane. Roman pinned Braun Strowman, 1, 2, 3. No one wanted it to happen, but it did. Undertaker didn't interfere. It was a clean finish. Why continue this rivalry for no reason? Oh, wait, there was a reason. Just so Undertaker could interfere. No other reason. They should have just had it as Roman come and cut a promo before Undertaker interrupted. There was no reason for this match. This was the road match, by the way. It was a road match where they pull a rivalry from in the past, Roman versus Braun. Stick it in the main event just so Undertaker can interrupt. There was no other reason for this match other than Taker's interruption, giving Taker a reason to show up. He obviously did. The other thing that annoyed me is throughout the entire of Raw, they were showing us clips of the Roman-Strowman rivalry. You're 2 weeks from WrestleMania when Roman Reigns is facing The Undertaker, and you're showing us clips of a past Roman Reigns rivalry. What the hell are you doing? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. But I guess it's Raw, so why not? Obviously. The lights go off, the lights come on, Undertaker's in the middle of the ring. It's supposed to feel big. And it does because it's The Undertaker, but at the same time it doesn't. I don't know why it just didn't. I didn't pop at all, didn't mark out. I was just like, oh, The Undertaker, yeah, let's go. Undertaker chokeslam Strowman, even though last week or 2 weeks ago they hinted that they weren't going to have a confrontation, Strowman backing away. Felt unnecessary, it was just a distraction for Roman to get the spear. stand tall above Undertaker before walking up the ramp. Undertaker sits up. They have a stare down. Undertaker does his thing, and that was really it. That's how Raw closed, and it didn't feel as big as it should have. I don't know why. I think it was the match itself. I think they could have had that in segment without Strowman. Even though I love Strowman, he deserves a bigger spot at me. He deserves more of a spotlight on him right now with the work he's been putting in. But it didn't need to be in this segment, and it took the focus away from Undertaker versus Roman Reigns in a match that I was looking forward to last week. Now, just kind of like, nah. So we'll see where he goes. All in all, you know what, this Raw was disappointing in my opinion. It didn't do enough to build WrestleMania. It didn't do enough to develop anything going into Main. It didn't do enough to give us that moment. When you think about the past few, even recent years, on the road to WrestleMania, you think of the yes movement occupying Raw. You think of the brawl that Undertaker and Brock Lesnar had going into WrestleMania 30. You think of uh, what was Shane McMahon last year on the road to WrestleMania returning and setting up his match for Undertaker. These are moments that you remember. I don't feel like we're going to remember anything that's happened on the road to WrestleMania this year. Not one thing, which is really frustrating because the road to WrestleMania should have those big twists, those big turns, those big moments where you go, shit, this is awesome. We've not had that. And that's what sucks about Raw and SmackDown, to be honest, this year. Maybe the Randy burn in the house of Bray Wyatt, but still that felt oddly placed and oddly timed. So yeah, WWE, poor show for Road to WrestleMania so far, and Raw is definitely lackluster. They need to pull something out of the bag next week. You know what? They complain that 3 hours is too long. They need the 3 hours next week to make something happen because pretty much every single match needs something to inject some fuel into WrestleMania because at the moment I'm not sure that roller coaster is gonna get started. I'm not sure the electric's going to be on in order for it to move because it's not. I'm so worried that WrestleMania is going to. I want it to be so good. Some of the matches have such great potential, but the way they're getting set up is just not great. So yeah, Raw this week maybe a 5 out of 10, maybe 4.5 out of 10 for me. The matches weren't even great themselves; they were just subpar matches. The opening segment was pointless. The end was poorly written. Sorry for the disappointment. Sorry for the rant as always, but yeah. Thanks for watching, I guess. If you'd like to see you guys, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave your thoughts in the comments. If you disagree or agree with anything I've said, follow me on Twitter at run_the_ropes and check back tomorrow for a review of SmackDown Live.